Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our product training this morning on our new product offering. We'll get started with Neil Wilkin.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I want to start off by thanking everyone who's worked so hard on this project, from the engineering team, Ted Leonard and Michael Stover, the marketing team, Melissa and Kristen, and others, the sales team that provided so much input, and business development, and the work Rick and others on his team have been doing. Don't mean to forget anyone, but this is a project we've been working on for a while. One more person and team that's been spending a lot of time on this is Pranav Singh and the IT team, because they've been helping from an operations standpoint, making sure everything's set up to make this offering operate smoothly as the product runs through our facilities. First thing that I want to chat about a little bit is our strengths. And I've categorized this as really strengths and strategy. And I'll go through this quickly because some of this is very familiar, or most of this should be really familiar to you. If you go to slide 4, please. So the way OCC competes really primarily is in product design and performance and exceptional service. When a company decides how to position itself in the marketplace, typically they look at performance, service, and pricing, and choose which they are strongest in. What we're strongest in and what we've chosen to compete on is really product design and performance and exceptional service. We still provide a great value and are focused on pricing, but we're not trying to be the lowest of the low competitors like others in the marketplace are. You go to slide 5. These are additional strengths of OCC, are part of our strategy. And item 4, to me, is really part of service. OCC has a unique knowledge and skill to manufacture customized and engineered products and solutions designed to meet specialized customer requirements. And our sales team and our business development team have the ability to work through and help customers select what's best for them. Of course, we all also compete on our strong brand name and reputation, as well as our strong position in our targeted markets. Everything from the specialty markets we operate in, but also in the enterprise market, where in the U.S. we're still, we are considered in the top 4, position in the top 4 U.S. manufacturers of enterprise fiber optic cable products. So we compete at 2 different levels, and that's expanding on what I've already mentioned. One, we're a leader in design and performance in many, many different industries. We have a broad offering across many industries. So the broad range of products over many industries is a broad range for a broad range of applications. And we've listed some of those here on page 7. But what we also do within each application is have a broad range of options or tiers with various features and benefits for each application. And so even for an enterprise application, by way of example, we may supply a DZ product, which is a very standard industry compliant tight buffered product. But someone may require something more rugged, a DX product, because of certain bends they may be using in their installation. Same application, but the second product is commercial plus. It exceeds industry commercial standards that are required based on our proprietary designs, and then provides a better solution as we, as a sales team and business development team, consult with the customers to what they want. Slide 8. This is a graphic representation of what we've been talking about. And so you can see in the middle of this graph, which is really performance and features and benefits compared to consumer investment, that most of our competitors tend to compete on brand name and focus on commercial grade for an application that meets minimum industry standards. So as the example I used a moment ago, of course we have those products, and this new loose tube offering really is a commercial grade, industry compliant product, as is, by way of example, to a large extent, our DZ product. But we also offer for the same application additional offerings with features and benefits, which can be used for that same application, but also have features and benefits that may be better suited for the customer's specific circumstance and for their installation style or installation requirements. So 9 really expands on what I've already mentioned, which is that we are known for our exceptional product performance and designs with industry-leading features and benefits for any application. And also, importantly, our tight buffered fiber optic cable always has higher performance features and benefits, usually better than most tight buffered competitor products, but also is going to be better than our loose tube products, which also goes to what Rick is going to describe, how we position ourselves in the marketplace and how we should be selling loose tube cable. Page 10 is just a quick example of a couple of the series of products which you're very familiar with that have different performance characteristics, but that may be used for the same application. Specifically, I'd call your attention to at the bottom where we have our tight buffered DX series versus a tight buffered DZ series, and then of course the indoor-outdoor loose tube HE series. Again, loose tube is not going to perform as well as tight buffered. Both the LT loose tube and the DZ series are industry compliant, whereas our DX series exceeds industry standards. So I've run through that section fairly quickly because of the fact that a lot of this will be familiar, but hopefully by looking at these slides and listening to this, you kind of see how we're positioning ourselves and how we're thinking about tiers and making sure we get the right solution. And the more features and benefits in a product, that's also the reason why the pricing's higher. And so we're not trying to be at the lowest price with the least features. We're trying to position the right solution at the right price, which provides a great value to the customer, exactly as our strategy states. Rick, I'll invite you to add anything else you want to from an overview standpoint, and then to go ahead and proceed and talk about why we're adding loose tube to our offering.
Thank you, Neil. If we could go back to slide 6, Lisa, that would be great. I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to do this. So we've been talking a lot about, I'm hoping by now the RSMs, your RSMs have been speaking to you about understanding your territory, breaking down into smaller pieces, looking at the grid, certain cities, and identify what applications or markets are in those cities. And there's a reason why. And I'm very excited about this because what this does is this just expands your opportunities significantly. So on slide 6, you're going to see the markets that OCC is in. And we're not just in these markets. We have specific design products for the applications within these markets. And I hope you know that. And if you're not familiar with the applications that we utilize these products in within these markets, I encourage you to please reach out to your RSMs or to myself and let's set up some training and do a once-a-week training. We're going to do that anyway, but you can do it on your own too with me or the RSMs. And let's set up some training because it's key. I'm going to say it's critical for everyone to understand we're in all of these markets, but we're not just utilizing the same products like some of our competitors. OCC has a great reputation for customer service, and you hear that a lot, but OCC has an excellent brand and an excellent reputation within these markets of designing products specifically for the different applications within those markets. And that's why this is exciting, because now, so we focus on a solution sell, and this allows us now just to add another tier of the products. You've heard Neil speak about the tier products, and it's important. It's important because you don't want to go in and go, hey, we have loose tube now, right? We want to go in and say, okay, whatever the market is or the application, here are your options. Now, I know that our competitors are using this loose tube. However, based on your application, and it could be the environment, it could be the space, the turns within the conduit, it could be that simple. And that's what we need to look at, because that's what's going to help grow your market. If you sit down and say, okay, here's the application within this market, here are my tier products to provide the solution. Now, how do I solve the customer's concerns, our issues, our requirements? And that's where OCC stands out. That's why, again, it's so important for people to get, you can get with the BDMs, you can get with RSMs or myself, but to understand the design, how we design these products within the different tiers of these applications. Okay, Lisa, we can move on. Want to go to slide 12?
We're there, Rick.
You're there? You're on slide 12? Okay, can everybody else? That's at 11. One more.
I think she's got slide 12, Rick, but there's a little bit of a delay,
See
maybe.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and speak to it. This happened to me on Monday. I have it on my second screen, so bear with me if I get ahead or behind a little bit. So when we start talking about why OCC on the loose tube, it's important to understand, and I stated this, that we are expanding our product line here. And so it's important to understand where our tier products are, because the customer may say, hey, look, I just want this cable, and that's fine. And you're going to have those situations where the customer just says, just quote this. However, our reputation and our brand is really based on understanding what they're going to do and help them resolve a problem or a potential problem may occur, and give them options of saying, okay, here's what we would recommend. And we can sell you this, but here's really what we would recommend, and this is why. And it's incredible how many times we see the customers come back to a product that better fits their requirements and their applications or their environment. So I really want to make that point clear. It's critical to expand your business. And now that we have this loose tube cable, it's even easier for us to be in more opportunities. Because before, where they didn't see OCC as having loose tube product, now we not only have our tight buffered product, but we also have a loose tube. So our tier just expanded significantly. So this is why it's important when we're selling to really look at the environment and the installation. We just want to make sure that we're not just going in and say, hey, now we have loose tube, because then we're in jeopardy of really ruining our tight buffered areas of expertise and our markets and our sales. And we just don't want to do that. There's no reason to do that, actually. It's actually going to enhance your sales by doing the opposite of that. It's going to enhance your sales by going in and looking at these scenarios and giving the customer options and having them really look at the options, understand how it's going to affect their installation. And with that, do you want, Michael, do you want to take over?
Yes, yeah. Go to slide 15. So thanks, Rick. Thank you. I'm going to talk about the specific cables that we're going to be offering. OCC's loose tube cable, fiber optic cables are going to be commercial grade cables, just like our competitors. So, the difference between our product and and our competition is going to be you guys, the salespeople. With our exceptional service and, as Neil mentioned earlier, our brand name. That's what's going. That's what's going to make the sale. It's an addition to what our tight buffer offering. So when we now can be able to offer a customer a complete solution and offer them the right cable for the application. These cables are designed to be industry commercial compliant. Like they meet the ICEA standards, IEC, TIA, all the standards community. These are commercial grade cables, and they meet all of the standards, just like our competitors. But compared to tight buffer, obviously the OCC loose tube cables are going to be have much lower mechanical environmental specifications, and you'll see that in the next few slides. I mean, everything from crush resistance and impact to tensile strength, and in addition, there's some special handling and termination compared to tight buffers. You need fan out kits and things like that for loose tube cables. So if you can go to slide 16, Alyssa. So we're going to introduce 4 product families. And I'll go through these just like our standard, like say DX and BX and GX. We came up with 4 different codes. The first one being TL, and this is going to be our loose tube outside plant cables. These are non-rated polyethylene cables, both in dielectric version and in a corrugated steel tape version. So there's a direct burial. So those are going to be the TL series, and we'll go through each one of these individually here in just a second. This is just kind of gives you an overview of what we're going to talk about. The second one product family that we're offering now is the HL series, and that is a loose tube indoor outdoor fiber optic cable. And there's 4 types of these. There's an indoor outdoor riser, indoor outdoor plenum, and then there's an indoor outdoor riser and plenum with interlocking armor over top of them. So there's going to be 4 cables under this family. The third one is the HE series. This is a loose tube indoor only. This is similar to our HD cable. If anybody's familiar with our HD, it's plenum indoor. Our HD has a 3 millimeter subunit with airman yarn in the tube, where this one is a 2 millimeter tube. These are like MPO trunk cables. This is what this is. And our fourth one is what we call our JL series. JL. This is an indoor only plenum interconnect cordage, kind of like a mini central core type, and it meets the ICEA 596 interconnect standards. And we'll talk more about this in just a second. So we'll start off with the TL series. This is the outside plant. I tried to list all the competitors, but this is a standard, a commodity product. A lot of people offer, anybody from AFL, Belden, CommScope, all the way down to Superior Essex and even offshore manufacturers. All these cables are designed to meet the basic ICEA 640 standard for this is outdoor cable spec. Crush 220 newtons per centimeter for both armored and non-armored. Flex 25 cycles, impact 1 impact at 3 locations, and the tensile strength is it's ICEA 640 compliant. So it's very, very minimal mechanical standards that ICEA 640. And as you can see here on this slide, you can look at the operating temperature. Our OCC loose tube cable going to have an operating temperature of -40 to +70, where all our tight buffer cables range from -40 to +85, and even -55 to +85. So we have a wider temperature range on our tight buffer cables compared to our loose tube cables. Crush, everybody hopefully knows what our crush rating is for our tight buffer cables. It's 1,800 newtons per centimeter for non-armored and 440 newtons for corrugated steel tape armored. But if you look at our loose tube cable, it's 220 newtons, as I mentioned earlier. So it's definitely a downgrade, especially for the non-armored version. So it has much lower mechanical performance as well. Look, if you can see the flex, 25 cycles, where our tight buffer products, 2,000 cycles. The one thing I will point out, though, is that our tight buffer cables from 12 to 48 fibers actually has a smaller diameter compared to our loose tube cables. So if size matters, the diameter you need to remember that the tight buffer will have a smaller diameter, which in certain applications, depending on what the customer's needs are, that's actually a benefit to them. So the TL series that we're offering is going to have 2.5 millimeter gel-free tubes with colored 245 micron fibers in them. There's no gel in these. These cables are going to be BABA compliant, and the attenuation, we're using single mode for these cables, SLA, .36, .22 dB per kilometer, much lower than our typical .5 that we offer, and sometimes .4, so it has much better attenuation, which is typically what you see in loose tube cables, and the tensile strengths of these are ICEA compliant. If you can go to the next slide. So we have spec sheets, and this is just sort of a summary of what you'll see on the spec sheet. This is you see the cross-sectional drawing. This is the dielectric version, non-armored. We're offering this cable from 12 to 288 fibers, SLA fiber, G.657A1 only, no multi-mode with this cable. The standard color is going to be black for these. And the part code, you'll notice, is pretty similar to what you're accustomed to. The only difference being that this is the TL series, and we now start the code with TL. So you see an example there, TL 288A for polyethylene jacket, SLA fiber. What's unique though is that J after the SLA. Normally you see a 9 or a 5, depending on what type of tight buffer that we're using in the fiber. J is basically standard for colored 245 micron bare fiber. So that's kind of a unique letter in that position. So if you look at the mechanical performances, we state ICEA 640, all the operating, storage, and installation temperatures, and then you can see to the right all the diameters and the weights and the tensile loads based upon the fiber count. As you notice, I mentioned earlier, I talked about tensile strength. These are ICEA 640 compliant, and compliant means that they're 600 pound rated. We have some cables, our BX and GX, and even some of the higher count DX cables that can be installed has much more installation tensile load. Some of our cables go up to over 2,000 pounds of installation tensile load. But we always put on our drawings, we don't recommend anything over 600, because typically if you're pulling cables over 600 pounds, you're going to wind up either destroying the conduit or ripping the jacket off going around sharp turns in the conduit. So that's where the 600 pounds come from. So these cables are designed just to meet the ICEA tensile requirements. So this is the armored version. It's a little different from what we normally offer as far as corrugated steel tape. Usually, like in our DX, when we offer a corrugated steel tape, we offer a DX cable that's got armor over it and then an outer jacket. This one doesn't have an inner jacket. This is what's known as a single jacket, single armor. The armor is right over top of the core, but it is rated for direct burial. This one's also 12 to 288 fibers. Same as the non-armored version. The only difference being is that the part code now has an A2 at the end, which stands for corrugated steel tape with polyethylene. So a little bit heavier cable, a little bit larger diameters, obviously, but this is available as a direct burial solution. And also, both the TL series, non-armored and armored, you can aerial lash these. They're not designed to be round messenger cables. They're not designed to be figure 8 cables, but they can be aerially lashed. So can you go to the next slide? So our second product family is the HL series. Now these are the indoor-outdoor loose tube cables. So I tried to get a list of competitors, and I may have missed one or two, but I tried to get them all who offers indoor-outdoor loose tube cables, AFL all the way down to Superior Essex and the Light Connection. All of these manufacturers are designed to meet the ICEA 696 indoor-outdoor cabling standard, with the exception of the Light Connection. They don't state any compliance, and they cannot produce any qualification to that standard. But everyone else meets the ICEA 696 standard. Same as the TL series, very minimal mechanicals, 220 newtons per centimeter crush, flex, 25 cycles, one impact, 3 locations for your impact. So you can go to the next slide. So once again, very similar to what we've seen in the TL series. You know, the operating temperature is still the same, -40 to +70 for our loose tube cables. The crush is the same. I will say for the interlock armor, though, our tight buffer cables has a crush rating of 650 newtons for our ILA compared to the 440 for CST armor. So our OCC loose tube cables has a 220 newtons per centimeter crush, where our tight buffers have 650. So there's definitely a downgrade there for that. Everything else is the same that we talked about. The 12 to 48 fibers for tight buffers, still a smaller diameter. These are, once again, 2.5 millimeter gel-free tubes with colored 245 micron fibers. These are BABA compliant cables. The attenuation, we're offering both single mode and multi-mode, OM3 and OM4. 3010 attenuations for the multi-mode. And once again, for the single mode, SLA fiber .36, .22 dB per kilometer. You go to the next slide. So this is the HL riser, 12 to 288 fibers. Once again, single it's SLA and OM3 and OM4. The color is black for these. Part code starts with the HL. It has that J in there after the fiber code. This is a riser. If you look in the lower left box there, the mechanicals, same installation temperatures that you're used to, low temperature of -10 to +60. And it's this ETL listed riser, and it's also FT4 rated. So it meets the Canadian requirements. So we can sell this cable in Canada. The chart to the right shows once again, all the diameters and weights and the tensile strengths. Everything's rated up to 600 pounds of installation tensile load for these. Go to the next slide. So this is the HL series riser armored, which is the interlocking armor. This cable does have a dual jacket, has an inner jacket and an outer jacket. So it's a, dual jacket, single armor type construction. 12 to 288 fibers, black in color. Single mode, multi-mode has, if you look at the part code, has I2 at the end. That I2 is referencing interlock armor and PVC jacket. I should have mentioned both riser cables, the armored and non-armored, have a PVC jacket, and we label that as D. This one as well, ETL listed and FT4 rated, Canadian. So we can offer this in Canada as well. Go to the next slide. We're offering a indoor-outdoor loose tube plenum. This one goes from 12 to 144 fibers. We stop at 144. We're offering SLA, once again, OM3 and OM4 fiber. The color on this one is going to be either yellow for single mode or 10 gig aqua for multi-mode. So there is a color difference on this one for the plenum series, HL series. One thing I will point out on this one, if you look at the installation temperature for this plenum, it goes down to -30, which typically on our plenum cables, we're used to either using 0 or -10, depending on our plenum jacket material. This one is able to go down to -30, which is a little bit different. If you look at the part code, if you look at the jacket, it is using the K. This jacket is a fluoropolymer jacket. It is not the same fluoropolymer that we're using in our current plenum cables, which if you're looking for chemical resistance, we still have to stay with the tight buffer designs. This is not the same material. So even though it is a fluoropolymer, when we're using the K for the jacket code, do not mistake this for a chemically resistant cable. We still want to stay with our tight buffer designs for that. This one also, it is ETL listed, but it's also FT6, which is the Canadian version. So it is, once again, I just wanted to point that out. So go to the next slide. And then our fourth in this product family is the plenum loose tube armored. Once again, same as the non-armored, 12 to 144 fiber, single mode, multi-mode. The only difference being is that it has an I6 at the end of the part code, and that stands for interlock armor and K jacket. -30 low installation temperature, ETL FT6 rated. So, we're good to go there. Next slide. So the next one is the HE series. This is the indoor MPO trunk cables. I tried to get a list of all the competitors that we actually compete in this, or that we would be competing with, anyway, from AFL, Belden, down to Proterio and Prismium. The one thing to note, what's a little bit unique is that Prismium offers these types of cables with subunits of 1.4 up to 48 fibers, 1.4 millimeters. And then above that, they go to 3 millimeter subunits. Everyone else uses 2 millimeter subunits, which is what this design is going to meet. All of these meet the ICEA 596. This is the indoor spec, with the exception of, once again, the light connection. Go to the next slide. So this is an indoor loose tube plenum. So the mechanicals are a little bit lesser than what you would normally see in our loose tube cables and our type, especially our tire buffers. Operating temperature 0 to 70, crush only 100 newtons per centimeter, and a flex 300 cycles. So these are, once again, these are 2 millimeter gel-free subunits that has Airman yarn in there with 245 micron fibers. These are BABA compliant. The attenuation, a little bit higher attenuations on these, 0.4 for SLA and 3010 for multimode. Go to the next slide. So we're offering these from 12 to 144 fibers. If you look at the cross-sectional diagrams in the upper right there, if you look at the 12 fiber, it's bare fiber with Airman yarn, and then it's kind of like got dual jacket. It's kind of like a dual jacket. The 24 fiber is a side-by-side version. And then above 24 fibers, we go to a round configuration. And you can look at the lower right chart there, and if you look at the 24 fiber, it shows you the diameter. It's that side-by-side version. It's 5.4 millimeters by 7.2. So it's a little bit unique design. Single mode OM3 and OM4 with these. Part code very similar to what you've been seeing. Starts with HE, has the J in there for the bare fibers. We're offering this with yellow and 10 gig aqua, single mode, multi-mode. It is ETL plenum listed as well as FT6 rated. So, and our last one we want to talk about today is the JL series. Go to the next slide. It's a indoor interconnect cable. Very minimal mechanicals. Operation 0 to 70. Crush only 40 newtons per centimeter. Flex 300 cycles. And tensile strength, but we'll show that on the next slide. But the attenuation on these, similar to our HE MPO trunk cables, 0.4 for single mode and 3010 for OM3, OM4. And with this one, we're also offering OM5, which is our part code ALW. So we are offering that in OM5. Go to the next slide. So these are basically, interconnect, think of like jumpers and things like that. This is an interconnect cable. These would meet the ICEA 596 interconnect requirement. We're offering this from 12 to 24 fibers. The single mode is going to be SLB, the G.657A2, and then multi-mode OM3, OM4, and OM5. Colors are going to be yellow, 10 gig aqua, and lime green for OM5. That's the TIA standard for OM5 cables. Or cables with OM5 fiber in there, I should say. It is ETL listed for plenum and FT6 rated. If you look at the lower right, the chart there, we are offering these for a 2 fiber, a 12 fiber, a 16, and a 24 fiber. They're all going to be within one tube. It's a singular construction. I will point out the installation tensile loads. These are very minimal. Like the 2 fiber only has a 15 pounds of tensile load. When you go to the 12 and 16, it goes up to 25, and then when you go to 24, you go up to 60. So very minimal. You got to be careful when you're using these. Very minimal installation tensile loads. So, and the last thing I want to, that's fine. The last thing I want to talk about is that our real sizes. I actually sent an email out last night to all the inside salespeople, giving a link to these charts. We have real charts, real sizes for all the cables that we just mentioned, the TL series, which is the outside plant, the HL, the indoor outdoor loose tube, and the HE, the indoor, and the JL, the interconnect loose tube cables. These charts are or have show the maximum lengths for each reel size that's available. And if you look to the right there, this is an example of a TL non-armored. The upper chart there shows the max lengths, and then the lower chart shows the max weights based upon the chart above, based on the max length. So you know what the weight of the weights are based upon not only the cable but the reel and the pallets that they come on. So that's the total weight that you have. These are part of our OCC's document control system. They're for internal use only. If you look at the charts, you can see rows that are in white and rows that are in yellow. The ones that are in yellow are non-standard reels. The ones in white are our standard reels. And what I mean by that is standard reels is reels that we're going to have in stock and they're readily available. Anything that's in the yellow, we can get, but you really have to contact purchasing to make sure that we can get those reel sizes quickly. It may increase the lead time. If you're going for one reel that's non-standard, it probably won't increase the lead time. But if you're ordering, 15 reels or 10 reels or maybe even 5, I don't know, I don't have a number. It could potentially increase the lead time because they're not stocked. At least not a lot of them. But it is available. So if you have a customer that has to have, for instance, if they want a 280 TL 288, if you go to the upper right and you go down and they want a 20,000 foot continuous length, you can see there's a reel there that goes up to 23,908. That would be an 84-inch reel. It is available. We can do it. We just need to make sure when we're quoting lead times that you contact purchasing and they can confirm that it is or it's not going to increase the lead time. So once again, I sent an email out. This is in our document control system. It's readily available for inside salespeople to look at. So, you can determine what we can and can't do. So next slide. That's all I have, so I'll turn it back over to Rick. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Alyssa, can we go back to slide 16 for a moment? So real quick, what I want to point out is this, again, should be very exciting for all the sales individuals. This gives us an opportunity. First, I'm going to say pre-termination. So these cables are excellent for pre-termination, indoor, outdoor, indoor only, excellent for pre-termination and complete solutions. So second thing is look for the connectivity. These are great products along with the other OCC products that are going to open up opportunities for connectivity and full solutions. But keep in mind, again, ask about what our pre-termination capabilities are. We have pulling stocks. I mean, we're getting into the data centers now, colos. So this, again, is an excellent opportunity to really get to know these products to expand your business in your territories. And I'll just say, so obviously the OSP is outside plant. The HL is an indoor outdoor. He explained it, but the industry is more familiar with calling it unitized, 12 fiber unitized or subunits. And then the indoor only, again, high fiber count. So keep in mind, everyone, these are high fiber count cables now. Indoor only, again, is a 12 fiber subunit, unitized cable, 250 micron fiber. And then when you look at the J, so in some of the data centers, it's easier without the unitized on the 12 and 24. So this is more of he called it a cordage or an interconnect, but that's really a lot what they're using on the MPO connectors for the data centers. Okay, and then let's go back to 38 if we could. Okay, we went over this already, so I'm gonna just skim over it. Obviously, it's just very critical to not just get to the customer and start quoting loose tube. This is an excellent opportunity for you to sit down, understand what the customer is doing, and give them options to sell. And all this is doing is expanding your options to sell to these customers. It's a great opportunity to understand the differences. You've heard things like direct burial, the environment, and the application or the installation is critical to OCC because we excel when we sit down in front of the customers and we understand what the requirements are when we deliver. And we deliver on time and the service is impeccable. So this is a huge opportunity to really gain sales in your territory. Obviously, we want to avoid just going in and selling the loose tube. We just don't want to cannibalize the OCC products just because it's going to hurt us in the long run. What it's going to cause is, it's going to cause, in some cases, customers coming back and saying they have issues, like some of the issues that our competition has now, where the customers call us and say, what can you do? And we come in and we provide a solution. So it's a negative actually to start with a loose tube until you understand the installation and the environment. Because again, where we get a lot of our business is customers coming to us as that technical expertise and saying, hey, I've had this issue, what can you do? And we swoop in and we gain the business. So be aware of that. Be aware of your environment, be aware of who the customer is and what they're doing. It's critical. We're not at the bottom, so we are not adding loose tube sales number to your goals at this time. We're going to pay bonuses based on the sales. We're not going to add it to your number, the sales number, until next year. So this year, your numbers are going to stay the same outside of the loose tube. The loose tube sales are going to be just gravy on top of that for you to make some money and grow sales. Okay, slide 39. So right now, this is going to be a standard offering, obviously, for OCC. Now, it's going to take some time for us to build up the stock like we have our existing products. So right now, I believe that we have 144 OSP plenum in stock on the shelf, and I believe that we have a 48 fiber indoor-outdoor plenum on the shelf. We went ahead and we made those so that we can actually run it through our testing process and our stocking and system process. So I know we have those on the shelf now. I know we have outstanding quotes, so be aware of the quotes. Don't promise it if we already have quotes out that are going to turn into sales. And right now the lead time is about the same as the other lead time. It's about 5 to 6 weeks. We're going to put on the loose tube. So keep that in mind. But again, we're going to do what we've done with the other products, and ultimately we're going to have stock of this product. For now, though, it's the 144 OSP and it's the 48 indoor-outdoor. We want to make sure that for now you understand we're not going to do any customization. We want to get acclimated with sales and delivery, and so for now we're not going to do any customization as far as color or print. So keep that in mind. Now, I will say, OCC is always, because of the size of the company, we've always been nimble. We've been able to come in and help customers with customization. And so we don't want you just to ignore an opportunity either. We want you to listen to those opportunities because, again, OCC has a reputation for being nimble like that as a small company, still as a small business, and has the ability to deliver. So listen for those opportunities. Don't make promises, but we want to bring those in and put them through the QRT process and make sure that if we can justify it and it's going to make us, it's going to be profitable. We want to go ahead and drive towards those new opportunities. Okay, if you want to go down to 42, Alyssa. Or actually just go to 43. So make sure I mentioned pre-termination, but there's also accessories. We have an OSP fan out kit. We already have it. We already have stock. We already have part numbers. We've been selling it. this is an excellent opportunity now to start offering it. If you're not familiar with it, get the data sheets, make sure you understand it so you can sell it. And because again, this is part of our solution sell. This is a great opportunity now to get to know that when you're selling an OSP cable, understand the fan out kit and make that a part of your offering. Also, we have outdoor splice kits. And so again, to me, this is just such a good opportunity for you to maybe get on the website, or if you like hard catalog, get a hard catalog and start going through and make sure you understand what OCC's capabilities are. I've been here 15 years, and I still hear after 15 years, the most common statement that I hear from customers is, I didn't know OCC did that. I still hear that. And it's so common. And I really find that whenever we go in and we listen to the customer, I find for myself, we go in and we listen to the customer and we understand what the requirements are and the depth of the application and the environment, and we offer them the full solution, almost always we get an opportunity. So I really want to make sure you hear the impact of that. Understand OCC's capabilities, because they're outside probably what you're aware of. And we are in so many markets, and we're not just selling the same products. We are very, very design specific on these markets, and we have a great reputation. On slide 45, so now we want to get into the data center. Data center is growing. We've had some products, however, we've had some gaps. So we've really been striving to look at density and look at what we can do there. In the data centers, they want to see more. They want to see more fiber count, right? And so now you're seeing that in the fibers that we offer, the cable that we offer. We're doing the same thing on the connectivity. We've set up relationships where we can go on the top here. You see an MMC and an SNMT. Yeah, these are the MT type ferrules. They're a plastic multi-fiber cable or connector. If you're not familiar with them, again, ask questions and we'll get you educated. But this gives us the opportunity to go dense, to go 432 on a 1RU, for instance, where we didn't have that capability before. So this is an exciting time. This is great. We're trying to get some data sheets, some quick order guides completed as quick as possible to get to you guys. But be aware of this. We also have down below, you see an MDC and an SN. So again, these are like a LC type connector. It's still 1.25 ferrule. However, these connectors, if you think about the footprint of a duplex LC, you can fit 3 of these in the same footprint of a standard LC. So think about how we can grow our capacity, our density on the fiber. And these, again, so what we really focused on, because again, the reputation of OCC is easeability, right? And meeting the customer requirements. So we're looking for, even on a connector end, we're looking for the design that we want. We're looking for the ability to pull from the boot and install from the boot so that you don't have to look for a clip, or you don't have to try to get your fingers in there when you have a lot of fibers in there. And so we're concentrating on what the customers are going to look for to make sure we stand out, as always. I spoke to this. This is just part of the reviewing the connectors. You can get a copy of this presentation and see. We're also making sure that we keep in mind on some of the data centers, they want the base 8, base 16. And so we're going to be aware of that and make sure we can meet those requirements. And on 47, I really want to show what we're doing. So we have now, we just received this week the prototypes. And they're very cool. What we're doing now is, this is a cassette. This is aluminum cassette, 48 fibers it will hold. And so you see our 1RU. 1RU is 430.
Hey. Sorry, Rick.
Yes.
Alyssa, the screen has stopped sharing. We can't see slide 48 or 47, whichever one you're on.
Oh, 47.
I can see it.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I have
Am I the only one?
delay, so I'm on my own presentation. Sorry about that. Let me know if I get ahead. So you can
You're
see
on
47
right?
now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this is, if you look at our 1U, that second arrow, if you look at our 1U now, we have 3 of these cassettes per row across 3. So now, and this again, this is a 1U with 432 fibers. And this is using our standard 600 series. Now we're looking at enhancing our designs, obviously, with the enclosures themselves, just because we want to stay ahead of the competition. But for now, you can see we have the opportunities. Now we can do cassette or we can do pass-through. And so again, this is why it's so important to understand OCC's capabilities and listen to what the customer says, because some customers don't want to use cassette. Some customers want to use pass-through, so trunk all the way through to the back of the adapters. And we have that capability. We have the ability to manage the cable. And so this is going to be exciting for you. And it's just going to be very, very critical that you understand how to speak to these and understand what the customer is looking for. On slide 48, again, it's just a picture of this cassette. We're going to be taking photos. We'll show you what they look like. And again, we're working on samples for the cable, the OCC loose tube. We're doing the same thing with the connectivity. We want to make sure that we get it in your hands, you understand it, you can touch it, you can walk through it yourself. So when you're showing the customer, you know the product inside and out. But this is a great time, everyone, and I'm very excited about this. And I really appreciate your time. And Alyssa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Rick. So now I'll just open it up for questions. Do we have any for the team?
Hey, this is James. I got a question real quick. Rick, I may have missed it. I was a few minutes late. Can you address when we talk about interconnects and cordage and trunk cables and campus fiber, what the differences are in those applications?
Yeah, if you go back to 16, did you hear me? Were you with me when we were talking about slide 16? If you go back to slide 16.
I'm there, Rick.
Okay, so to me, we're really talking commercial for the indoor-outdoor, obviously. However, you're also talking some light duty. So with mining, we go below ground, and again, we're going to use our harsh cable, environment cable, and probably the harsh sealed connectivity. However, if you go above ground on mining, now you're talking about an indoor-outdoor riser plenum cable. And so to me, if you're looking at the solution, you're going to want to look at now these higher fiber counts, indoor-outdoor, with those kind of commercial light duty applications, James. The JL, to me, when he says cordage, to me, that's an interconnect. To me, so if you're doing data centers, so they're going to want to do like a 12 or even a 16 or a 24. It's a jumper, but it's really a trunk. So we're talking pre-terminated trunks. And this is just an excellent cable to use for that, between that 12 and 24. But again, even the indoor-outdoor pre-terminated opportunities are great. Even to terminate one end and put a pulling stock on it and pull it through, or pull the unterminated cable through and have the terminated cable on one side and save half of that labor. Those kind of things really set OCC apart. And then the indoor only, to me, this is where we get into the data center. We're really going to grow the data center market with this indoor cable. Just because, to me, it's perfect for what we need as far as what the data centers are going to use. We can pre-terminate it with just about any connector that we need to. We have the pulling stocks, we have the accessories to go with the data centers. And to me, that's a perfect opportunity to open up the data center market.
James, an easy way to describe this would be the interconnect is within a building, closet to closet, room to room. The indoor-outdoor would be a building-to-building type application. The good thing about the indoor-outdoor cable is obviously is you don't have to transition to an indoor cable, where if you use an OSP cable between buildings, you got transition within 50 feet. So that's how I would think about it is, OSP is town to town. Inner building would be your indoor, outdoor plenum and riser, and then of course, inner building, intra building would be all that 596 that we're talking about, that Rick's talking about, the building, closet to closet, and room to room.
Got it. Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, better
Michael
said, Jeff,
Stover may
thank you.
wanna- Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
And
And
hey-
Rick, just real quick, Michael Stover may want to add something. So the JL series would probably be less room to room because it's such a fragile cable. It is more jumpers with limited trunk applications in the data center. I think that's correct. I mean, Michael, do you want to speak to that?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, yes, you're correct, but yeah, if you remember back to that slide, it has very minimal installation loads. 15 pounds, I think, for the 2 fiber, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it's very, you have to be real careful using those if you're going to be trying going from room to room because of just because of the tensile rating on those. They're very, they're interconnect cordage, but for lack of better words. But yeah, I mean, you can use them for different applications, but it's the installation. They're very, how do I say this? Very minimal tensile load. I'll leave it at that. Trying to get my right words out. So yes.
Well, within the 596 standard, Michael, there is a description of horizontal backbone and interconnect. I think if we get that to everybody, it may help clarify what these applications are.
Yeah, I can send that.
And Jeff's description was correct. I just want to make sure I highlight the difference between the HE indoor only and the JL series interconnect.
Michael, I've got a question. We get
My experience,
we get a lot of questions up here in the Midwest for RUS. I know it's an old standard, but we're going to have to address it at some point. We put a standard statement out about how RUS is probably an old standard and it's been circumvented by something else.
Yeah, I'm vice president of the ICA Standards Committee, and I've talked to a lot of our competitors in these standards meetings about RUS. And you're right, it's a defunct standard. It's no longer applicable. But you do, yes, in the Midwest, you still have people. It's one of those things once you put a standard in a spec, they never take it out.
They never take it out.
They never take it out, and it's no longer applicable. What has replaced it is ICEA 640. It is an outside plant spec. It's a polyethylene, so it's been replaced by ICEA 640. So any of the TL series that you're seeing there would meet the old RUS requirements. So yeah, if anybody out there is running across an RUS spec, it's no one in the industry now recognizes that. And I'm talking anybody from Corning, OFS, Comsco, Belt, no one recognizes RUS anymore. So yeah, I can probably put something out, but yeah, it's ICA 640 is what fully replaced it. You will hear some references sometimes to the Telcordia specs, but 640 is what's replaced RUS.
Okay.
Hey, Michael, which one of those did you say was the single jacket, single armor series?
It's the TL corrugated steel tape. It's single jacket, single armor. It's you have your core, which is going to be your loose tubes, your 2.5 millimeter gel-free tubes. It's got some yarn around it, but unlike like we do with our normal cable, we put a jacket and then put armor. This one's got the armor right over top of the core, right on top of the airman yarn, and then one jacket. So it's a single jacket, single armor. Now the HL indoor outdoor loose tube cables, it's got the interlocking armor. That's a dual jacket, single armor. That's built like we normally would build our interlock armor cables, tight buffer cables. It has an inner jacket, then you have the interlock armor, and then you have another jacket. But yeah, the single jacket, single armor is the TL corrugated steel tape cable, outside plant.
Perfect,
And
thank you.
Tony, that's referenced, Tony, on the spec sheet if you need to find it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, any more questions?
Jeff, again.
Yes, Rick, Steve Walsh with TCF, real quick on the data center stuff. Is there going to be a BDM for that? there is an opportunity at Orlando Airport. They're building a brand new one. And are we going to have a BDM that I can directly talk with or get involved with on those products?
Well, for now, it's me.
Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine. As long as I have,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think right now it's probably going to be Jeff and I across the U.S., but we're looking to get everybody trained, a little bit more trained, and we're even thinking about a data center BDM.
Okay, good. Well, then we'll talk at a later time because there is an opportunity that we can talk about after the meeting later.
Yeah, and if you want me to, it's probably best to come see the application if they are, see the environment where they're at. If it's is it a data center you said or a colo?
Oh, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be a data center, 2 acres. I think Joe said it's at the Orlando Airport, and we were talking this morning. So yes, it would. You probably
airport.
would be able.
Okay.
It would be the airport, and they're going to use it for not only the airport but for some other stuff as well. So it's 2 acres.
Perfect.
Yep. So and
let me know because we probably want to be on site, or I would want to be on site to see it.
Yeah, I'll get Joe involved and we'll see how we can set it up and obviously introduce him to all this stuff. And you saw a little bit of it at Bixie, not much. But yes, then I'll get you involved.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And I had one thing to add. This is Ted. You know, given the uncertain environment we have today with tariffs, it's important to point out that, you know, whenever you're talking about the complete system solution, our termination preterm capability is done in the U.S., unlike a lot of our competitors.
Good go.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, very good point.
Do we have an MOQ on these?
Yes, for the cable, we have a 1 kilometer MOQ.
Okay, I know if I
But-
missed it or not, Mike, I just want to ask the question. Thank you.
Yeah, now as Rick pointed out, right now we do have some stock. So I don't know once we start stocking cable, getting more stock involved, I don't know if that will change, but right now it's 1 kilometer.
That's pretty typical for the industry. If you talk to most of our competitors, it's usually a 0.5 kilometer or 1 kilometer min. So I think that's pretty standard.
So I think that we will still look at MOQs and adjust that because the idea is that this will be a standard stock item that we'll cut as necessary. So I think it may be a good starting point, 1 kilometer, but that doesn't mean we can't do less than that. Yeah, we just haven't, to my knowledge, finalized that.
Well, once we identify high runners, we can make some better decisions, Neil.
Well, and Jeff too. This is really going to open up business for the indoor, outdoor, even back on the OEMs or assembly houses. And so
Yep.
once we can take a better look at that once stock starts getting on the shelf, because we're really, I really see that business opening back up again.
The other thing, Rick, I wanted to mention, and for you or Jeff to comment on, of course, we're excited about the whole offering. I mean, from start to finish, and also the work that Rick, you and the team, as well as with folks in Asheville, working on expanding our opportunities in data center market. What I would say, I would think, but I invite you to correct me, Rick or Jeff, that the outside plant might be an opportunity to get some real hits, because I know that there's projects where the customer will buy our product for everything except for the outside plant product. And for certain campus applications, alternative energy applications, that might be an area where we can get quick hits. We've got a great relationship with an existing customer, and we can add this to their project right away. But I invite you guys to comment.
Well, actually, you're absolutely right. And so I heard James Simons, but Jeff, and if you and James want to speak to what you're already seeing, I think that's absolutely correct, Neil.
Well, I'll start. I had a conversation with Annixter Wesco. I keep calling him Annixter Wesco on Tuesday. And we talked about a couple other things, but led the conversation about capacity. And they're seeing all across the board for their #1 supplier having issues with getting product out the door. So I think there's going to be some opportunity for us even with the national guys, just picking up business because of lead time. Some of the Corning stuff has been stretched out beyond 20 weeks, and that's not going to work for a lot of customers. So I think the importance of hitting our national distributors and presenting the whole suite of products that we have. The window's open. We just need to go walk through it. I also invited them to place some orders to use up our capacity. That hasn't happened yet, Neil. I was looking for big orders out of them. I haven't gotten any yet, though.
Okay.
James, did you have anything to add? Must have dropped off. Sorry.
Hey, this is Bob Booz. I got a real quick question. Still there?
We're here, Bob.
Yeah, hey, on slide 16, I was looking at the HL series, the interlock armor versions. If I had an application that was the outdoor portion had rodent exposure, would that work in that case, or would you transition and use the outside plant corrugated steel tape?
We typically recommend, this is Michael, we typically recommend corrugated steel tape for rodent protection. That's really the only one. Now, I do know some customers use ILA for both rodent and direct burial. We don't recommend that for various reasons, but my fallback is always the corrugated steel tape. And if it's lower fiber counts, we can actually offer indoor, outdoor, riser, corrugated steel tape cables, fully rated. There are fiber count limitations to that, obviously. It has PVC outer jacket and inner jacket. So it really depends on the application, to be honest with you. But I mean, I don't think we wouldn't warranty it for rodent protection. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah, I would agree with Michael.
Yeah, most people would probably want to bury that cable, Bob, for rodent protection. Therefore, the CST, if they're doing it in a cable tray, the interlock armor probably would work. But if it's going to the ground, corrugated steel tape.
Yeah. I thought that would be the answer, but I thought also it's probably going to come up.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us today. I just want to point out one thing before we go, and that is that the spec sheets for all 4 of these cable families are available on the OCC click list, the very top of the page. If you aren't familiar with the OCC click list, please give me an email or whatever, and I'll walk you through the page. You do need a password. This is an internal tool, and the password is GoOCC ! And that'll get you into the page. You'll find a list of all of our OCC resources that are current sales focuses. So you'll find all of that there. They are also available as a technical document in our OCC library. There's one general sheet for each cable family, and there's a configurator on the back that will allow you to build out specific part numbers. Thank you all for joining us today, and I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah, thank you. Neil,